Have you ever looked at an elderly loved one, perhaps your mother, father, spouse, and felt that something was changing? It's not loud, not dramatic, but it's clear enough to make your heart quietly ache. They no longer enjoy their meals the way they used to. They don't seem excited to water the garden, tell stories, or laugh with the grandkids like before. They sleep more, speak less, and somehow seem a little more distant each day. And you wonder, are they truly tired, or is this just a natural part of aging? In many families, the departure of a loved one doesn't come as a sudden event. It begins with very small, almost invisible signs that appear 6 months, sometimes even a year beforehand. These are quiet signals that, if we are gentle and attentive enough to notice, could give us more time for warm embraces, more moments watching sunsets together, and more of those words we've always meant to say, but never have. But the truth is, many people don't recognize these signs until it's too late. Not because we don't care, but because in the rush of everyday life, it's easy to say, "She's just tired. He's fine, just not eating well lately. Maybe grandma's sleepy because she stayed up late." It's those small things that are the real concern. And that's why this video was created, not to make you anxious or afraid, but to help you understand, truly understand, when your beloved elder may be entering the final chapter of their journey. Because when you notice those changes early, you gain the chance to rearrange your time to be with them more, create final memories, gentle and complete, and most importantly, ensure they don't walk the last stretch of life alone or in silence. In this video, we'll walk through 5 of the most common signs that often appear months before an elderly person departs. These changes are often mistaken as just old age, but are actually the body's way of quietly closing its story. If you're caring for aging parents, grandparents, or any elderly loved one, or simply preparing yourself with peace of mind, please stay with me until the end of the video. Because when you understand what's coming, you'll feel less confusion, less regret, and have the chance to offer your love in the most beautiful, meaningful way during someone's final months. Have you ever opened your mother's wardrobe, pulled out an old shirt, and suddenly realized it's looser than before? Have you watched her walk down the hallway and wondered why her figure seems so fragile now? Unexplained weight loss is one of the earliest and most subtle signs that the body is transitioning. It's not just about eating less. Yes, many assume older adults lose weight simply because they eat less. But deeper than that, it can be a sign that the digestive system no longer absorbs nutrients the way it used to. The body's ability to process protein and maintain muscle is slowing or fading. A weakened immune system is silently burning energy to survive, even without a clear illness. Even the sense of taste may fade. The joy of food has turned into a daily struggle. When weight loss is combined with weakness, fatigue, and decreased activity, it's more than just a physical issue. It's the body's gentle whisper that it's beginning to step back. And in many cases, this is the time for families to pause and ask, "Mom, are you tired, or is it that nothing feels appetizing anymore? Dad, is there a dish I could make that's easier for you to eat?" Maybe now's the time we stop insisting on food and start listening more deeply. Supporting someone who's losing weight isn't just about offering more meals. It's about creating an environment where they feel they're not being forced. They can enjoy what they love, even if it's just one warm spoonful of porridge in the morning. They are cherished, not treated as someone who needs fixing. Because at this stage, the goal isn't weight gain. It's about keeping their body and spirit at ease, feeling light and unburdened. A gentle note for you. If you're caring for aging parents and notice they're eating less, wearing looser clothes without trying to lose weight, tiring easily from short walks or light tasks, consider these not as problems to be solved, but signs to gently pay attention to. In that moment, instead of asking, "Why won't you eat?" try saying, "Mom, how about a warm bowl of porridge? Let's enjoy it together, just a little, just for joy." And believe this, one spoonful of porridge filled with love is far more precious than a full meal served in silence. Some mornings, the one you love may remain in bed, not out of laziness or lack of will, but because leaving that warm blanket has become a true challenge. Just placing one foot on the floor might require a pause to catch their breath. Lifting a teacup might tire their whole arm. This isn't normal fatigue. It's not the kind that goes away after more sleep. This is a deep, persistent exhaustion that lingers no matter how much they rest. Where does this fatigue come from? As one nears the final stage of life, the body changes how it operates. The heart pumps slower. Breathing becomes shallower. Muscles no longer receive enough oxygen to work as they once did. The body redirects energy to vital organs, causing the legs to weaken, hands to tremble, and breathing to grow labored. They no longer have the strength to walk out to the porch, no longer the alertness to follow an entire story you tell, and sometimes even opening their eyes feels overwhelming. And the emotional toll. This is not just physical. This kind of deep fatigue also weighs heavily on the heart and mind. The father who once loved fixing things in the garage now sits quietly by the window. The mother who loved to tell stories now turns away from conversation, not out of sadness or coldness, but because they simply don't have the energy to stay connected for long. They begin to withdraw from daily routines. A family dinner may be too tiring. A 10-minute phone call might require them to lie down for an hour afterward. They're not distancing themselves on purpose. They're listening to their body, slowly entering life's final journey, a journey that is quiet, gentle, and deeply felt. What they need now is not pressure, but soft presence. When your loved one reaches this stage, don't say push yourself, or you need to get up and move. What they need most is understanding, compassion, and presence that doesn't demand anything. Sometimes just sitting beside them, holding their hand, and sharing a silent moment can heal more than any encouraging words. Let them rest when they need to. Prepare a space that's quiet, warm, and comforting. A cozy armchair in the corner, a soft blanket, gentle light, these are your open arms cradling them through life's final chapter. And if you are beginning to notice these signs, if you notice that your loved one is becoming increasingly fatigued, sleeping more, speaking less, and seeking solitude, it may be time to slow down and be present with them. This is the moment to sit together and listen to a familiar old song. Gently whisper, "I love you, Dad," or "I'm always here with you." Record the stories they still wish to share, the details in their eyes, the soft murmurs between weary breaths. Not everyone will be here tomorrow, but today, you can still hold their hand and make their day a bit gentler. Have you ever visited your father only for him to smile and call you by someone else's name? Has your mother ever looked around her kitchen of decades and asked, "Where's the sugar cabinet?" Or perhaps a once sociable loved one now sits silently by the window, gazing distantly, uninterested in conversation. If you've witnessed these moments, please don't be too heartbroken. This isn't a sign of indifference or rejection, but rather an indication that their mind is gradually beginning the process of letting go. Changes in thinking and memory, not always obvious. In the final stages of life, one of the most subtle yet significant changes is cognitive decline. Your loved one may begin to forget the day, time, or their current location. Wikipedia, repeat the same thoughts without realizing it. Healthline plus WebM+1. Look at familiar faces without recalling names, or confuse relationships. Healthline +2 crossroadshospice.com +2 comprehensive cancer information +2. Initially, these lapses may be fleeting, but over time, you'll notice them speaking less, tiring more easily during interactions, and seemingly drifting away from the world around them. Withdrawal, not due to lack of care, but overwhelm. Many families have shared, "My mother no longer wants to leave her room. My father doesn't call anyone anymore, nor does he answer when the grandchildren reach out. When the kids visit, he just watches without saying anything." Such behaviors can be mistaken for depression or even despair, but sometimes it's simply a peaceful retreat. Like the setting sun, the sky doesn't darken abruptly, but fades gently, quietly, without fanfare. At this stage, their brain no longer processes information as swiftly or robustly as before. Voices, lights, sounds, all can become overwhelming, too noisy, too confusing, so they choose to step back, to remain silent, to observe from a distance. Peace can stem from the smallest gestures. During this time, remember that your loved one doesn't need many words, but rather the warm energy of your presence beside them. Sit with them without pressing for conversation. WebMD Alzheimers.org.uk +8 crossroadshospice.com +8. Hold their hand when they stare into the distance. Play an old song they once cherished. Call them by the affectionate names you used in childhood. Sometimes a gentle smile, a faint nod, or a silent tear is the deepest response they can offer you. This isn't an end, but a final chapter, written in quietude. If you observe your father gradually forgetting memories, your mother speaking less than before, or your grandparents no longer reacting as they once did, don't fault them. Don't urge them to return to normal. Instead, accompany them. Slow your pace and live each moment with them tenderly and lovingly. Remember, even when words are no longer clear, love can still be felt through a gaze, a hand held, a peaceful breath shared together. If you've seen an elderly loved one suffer from a mild illness that lingers for a month, if a small scratch on your father's foot refuses to heal, even becoming inflamed, or if your mother, once resilient, now faces repeated hospitalizations due to urinary infections, pneumonia, or skin inflammations, then please take a moment to listen to the final whispers of their immune system. The body at the end of its journey, no longer fighting as before. One of the clearest yet often overlooked signs in the elderly is small wounds that heal slowly and recurring infections. In younger individuals, the immune system acts like an elite firefighting team. At the first sign of flames, bacteria, viruses, injuries, the body responds immediately, extinguishing threats and healing swiftly. But in those over 80, 90, or those nearing the end of life's journey, that firefighting team weakens, tires, responds more slowly, and sometimes doesn't respond at all. Infections are no longer the same. When your loved one catches a cold, has a slight fever, or a urinary tract infection, you might think a few days of medication will clear it up. Better Health Channel +1 Alzheimers.org.uk +1. They've always been strong. However, at this stage, their body often doesn't respond to treatment as it once did. They may require stronger doses of antibiotics, longer recovery periods, and sometimes they might not fully recover. Unexplained fevers, mild delirium after each bout of pneumonia, all are signals that the body is gradually surrendering the fight. Minor wounds become lingering pains, a slight nick while shaving, a bedsore from prolonged immobility, a small scrape on the heel from wearing slippers. In youth, if your loved one is becoming increasingly fatigued, sleeping more, speaking less, and seeking solitude, perhaps it's time to slow down. It's time to sit with them and listen to an old song. Gently whisper, "I love you, Dad," or "I'm always here." Record every story they still wish to share, every detail in their eyes, every whispered word amidst weary breaths. Because not everyone will be here tomorrow, but today you can still hold their hand and make their day a little gentler. Have you ever visited your father and he smiled, calling you by someone else's name? Has your mother ever looked around the familiar kitchen of decades and asked, "Where's the sugar cabinet?" Or has your once socially enthusiastic loved one now just sat silently by the window, eyes distant, uninterested in conversation? If you've witnessed these things, please don't be too heartbroken. This isn't coldness or rejection of affection, but a sign that the brain is gradually embarking on a journey of letting go. Changes in thinking and memory, not always obvious. In the final stages of life, one of the most subtle yet evident changes is cognitive decline. Your loved one may begin to forget the day, time, or where they are. Repeat the same idea multiple times without realizing it. Look at loved ones without remembering names or confuse relationships. Initially, these occurrences may be fleeting, but over time, you'll notice they speak less, tire more easily when communicating, and seem to be stepping out of the flow of the surrounding world. Withdrawal. Not because they don't care, but because everything has become too much. Many families have shared. My mother no longer wants to leave her room. My father doesn't call anyone anymore, nor does he pick up when the grandchildren call. The kids come to play, and he just watches without saying anything. These situations can easily lead loved ones to misunderstand it as depression or even sadness and despair. But sometimes it's just a peaceful withdrawal. Like when the sun begins to set, the sky doesn't darken abruptly, but fades gently, quietly, without noise. At this time, the elderly brain no longer processes information as quickly and robustly as before. Every voice, light, sound can become too much, too noisy, too confusing. Therefore, they choose to step back, to remain silent, to observe from afar. Peace can come from the smallest things. During this stage, remember that your loved one doesn't need too many words, but needs your warm energy present with them. Sit beside them without bombarding them with questions. Hold their hand when they gaze into the distance. Play an old song they once loved. Call them by the affectionate name you used since childhood. Sometimes, a gentle smile, a weak nod, or a silent tear is the deepest response they can give you. This is not the end, but the final chapter being written in silence. If you see your father gradually forgetting memories, your mother speaking less than before, or your grandparents no longer responding as they used to, don't blame them, don't force them to return to normal, but walk with them, slow down, and live each minute gently and lovingly with them. Remember, even when words are no longer clear, love can still be felt through the eyes, through the touch of a hand, through peaceful breaths together. If you've witnessed an elderly loved one with a mild cold that lingers for a month, if a small scratch on your father's foot won't dry, even becomes inflamed, or if your mother, once with a strong immune system, now repeatedly hospitalized for urinary tract infections, pneumonia, skin infections, then please take a moment to listen to the body's final whispers. The body at the end of the journey, no longer fighting as before. One of the very clear but often overlooked signs in the elderly is small wounds that heal slowly and recurring infections. In young people, the immune system is like an elite firefighting team. As soon as there's a fire, bacteria, viruses, wounds, the body immediately reacts, extinguishes, and recovers. But in those over 80, 90, or those nearing the end of life's journey, that firefighting team weakens, tires, reacts more slowly, and sometimes doesn't react at all. Infections are no longer the same. When your loved one has a cold, mild fever, or urinary tract infection, you might think, just take some medicine for a few days and it'll be fine. They've always been healthy. But the body in the final stage of life often doesn't respond to medication as before. They may need stronger doses of antibiotics, longer recovery times, and sometimes never fully recover. Unexplained fevers, slight delirium after each bout of pneumonia, all are warning bells that the body is gradually letting go of the fight. Small wounds, becoming lingering pains, a slight cut while shaving, a bed sore from lying in one position too long, a scratch on the heel from wearing sandals. In youth, these are trivial matters, but when blood circulation slows, the immune system declines, skin thins, and tissues no longer regenerate quickly, those small wounds become slow-healing sores, infections that are slow to recover, risk of sepsis, life-threatening. This is why skincare, hygiene, and moisturizing for the elderly are so important, not just for beauty, but to preserve the fragile body that's weakening day by day. Many families have missed the opportunity to care, just because they thought that scratch is nothing. Many have painfully recounted, "We didn't think she passed away because of an infection. Just a small sore on her back, but it spread so fast. He had a cold last week. We thought it was just a common cold. Who knew it would turn into pneumonia?" These things aren't meant to make you worry, but to remind you, preparation begins with attention. Care. Gently, as if you're cherishing the most precious thing. When you see your loved one, often tired after fevers, having wounds that heal slowly, easily catching colds, pneumonia, skin infections, easily bruised or scratched, these aren't just symptoms, it's the body's way of saying, "I'm tired, please be gentle." Choose comfort instead of pressure to cure. Instead of forcing them to take a lot of medicine, ask if they'd like a sip of warm tea, instead of trying to take them to the hospital again. Sit with them and listen to the rain outside the window, because sometimes healing isn't in the prescription, but in the presence of loved ones. One afternoon, a daughter sat beside her 87-year-old mother who was sleeping. She realized her mother's breathing was so faint that she had to listen closely to hear it. She held her mother's hand, cold and soft as snow. She said nothing, just sat there and realized time is becoming as thin as a breath. Breath, the final music of life. One of the last signs indicating a loved one is entering their final year is changes in breathing and circulation. You may notice that your loved one breathes more slowly or intermittently. There are moments of paused breathing for a few seconds, then resumption. Breaths, go back,